Welcome to Between Heaven and Earth, an internet radio talk show where we help you connect spirit and divine guidance. Lisa Kay, your host, brings you shows that can enhance and transform your life with tips and new ideas for more happiness, abundance, and better relationships. Lisa is an expert on intuition and can show you how to strengthen your inner guidance to empower yourself. Each show is positive and uplifting to inspire your day. Her guest speakers are specialists on self-help, positive thinking, spirituality, and conscious living. Be the best that you can be with Between Heaven and Earth, conscious living for your soul.
And angel blessings to everyone. Happy Wednesday to you. We're here on Between Heaven and Earth, and our show today is called A Healer from Heaven. In 1991, while she was driving to a Christmas party, Mary Helen Hensley was hit by a car that was going over 75 miles an hour. Just prior to impact, Mary Helen recalls how time stalled, how she temporarily left her body and experienced life beyond the earth plane. And at this moment, Hensley realized she had a choice, either remain in her body or exit from the earth, allowing the remainder of the scene to unfold without feeling any pain. And she chose to leave her body and enter heaven. When she returned to her body, she decided to fulfill her life's mission of being a healer. And ever since, she has embraced the importance of living life to the fullest and inspiring those around her to do the same. Dr. Mary Helen Hensley is a chiropractor, metaphysical healer, and international motivational speaker. She has authored numerous books, including The Pocket Coach and The Chakra Fairies. She lives and works in Ireland with her 2 daughters and is also gifted outside of the 5 senses. Welcome, Mary Helen. I am so excited you're here.
Hello from rainy Ireland.
Rainy Ireland. Yeah, we got rain over here in New York. They say it's going to be a mild winter. Unfortunately, I love snow, but
me too.
Oh, it is what it is. What are you going to do? Life, the world changes.
It does. We're just happy to be here.
Yeah, and I think that's really one of the things that we have to learn how to embrace is life and being happy in life. And what I love about talking to people who have near-death experiences or who have had them is that you got to see the other side. They say that we're veiled, right? That we are born into this physical world and we come forgetting where we came from. We come forgetting that we are all one and that and what heaven was like. But you got to go back and remember what it was like. So would you share with us what happened and what your whole near-death experience story was like?
I will, of course. And I'm coming up in just a few short days to what I call my rebirth day.
Oh, really? Wow.
So it's very exciting for me because it was December 14th, 1991. So technically, I'm still quite young.
Yeah. 91. Yeah, that was quite a few years
ago.
So
do you count the birthday when you actually first got here or when you came in second time around in the same body?
Timeless.
So I celebrate them both, which is more fun for me. Cool. But so it was December 14th, 1991. I had just graduated from college that summer. And in the South, as you do, when you're dating somebody in college and you continue to date outside of college, you're going to take it further at that stage in the South. You're talking stationery and crystal and wedding plans and all of this kind of thing. So I ended up moving to Charleston, South Carolina with my beloved. And I was working in a sign company, and I wasn't doing anything wild or exciting with my 2 degrees in communications and graphic design. I was mopping floors because that was the only job that I could get. And it was quite possibly the best thing that ever happened to me because I learned how to work from the bottom up and how to appreciate every job and every person who does every job. Because when I eventually ended up owning my own businesses, I understood the value in having employees who took care of the place as if it were their own. And so this was a quality that I always looked for, and I learned from doing it and being part of it. So I was working in a sign company, and we were having our Christmas party, and it was very hot, as it is at Christmas time in South Carolina. And I had on a Santa Claus t-shirt and bright red Bermuda shorts, and I hopped in my little Toyota Corolla and was venturing towards town to go to the party. And I was such a cliche because I was less than 2 miles from home, which is where the vast majority of all accidents take place. And I was at a stoplight that was leading into the intersection of Highway 17. So anyone who knows that part of the country, Highway 17 is a huge highway both ways, and it's extremely busy. So my light was red, and I'd been sitting there waiting for the light to turn green, and there's multiple lanes of traffic going both ways. And so I waited, and I was going to cross the intersection. My light turned green, and I made it across the first few lanes. And then all of a sudden, I looked left, and I could see a car just hurtling towards me. And in that minute, everything just seemed to stand still. It was the most unbelievable sensation. It's like time froze.
Wow. So it was on
what
your
was really
left.
interesting.
On your left means that it's the driver's side, right? Because we drive like that.
Right.
So you had a full
T-boned.
view. You had a full view of this car
yeah.
coming at you. Oh my gosh.
Here it comes. Yeah.
Wow.
And but everything starts to slow down. So I became acutely aware in that moment that I had a choice. Now, this is where it gets very interesting. I'm the daughter of a minister, Southern Baptist from the Bible Belt.
Wow.
And we don't talk about having a choice at death time, let alone time standing still and getting to decide whether one stays in the body or not. But this is exactly what was happening. So it wasn't like I was having some kind of a hallucination. Everything that was beginning to occur was very different than what I'd been taught in Sunday school. I'm sitting there, and I look, and I was like, oh, God, this is death. I've done this before. And I was like, you know what? That car is going to become and it was this sudden kind of.
You knew that you had done this before?
In that moment, I became just so aware. I was like, oh, yeah. And I was like, that car is going really fast, and that's going to hurt. And I've done this before so many times. I don't think I'm going to sit in and watch this.
Wow.
And the next thing I knew, I always describe this part. I play Irish music here, traditional Irish music, with the pipes and the guys play guitar. And I play the baron, which is the drum. And I love the pipes. And when someone's getting ready to play the pipes and they start to fill the bag that holds the air, when they start to fill that up, the pipes make this drone. It's like this low, steady hum. Mm-hmm. And I became very aware in that moment of this hum in the background. What I've, since learned was that this was the frequency change that was taking place as I was exiting the physical form. Mm-hmm. So what was happening was I was feeling and hearing the frequency of, Mary Helen, the spirit, inside Mary Helen, the bag of protoplasm, and I could feel that change taking place. And that hum was accompanying me as I exited my body. And next thing I know, I'm looking down. And the very second that I became aware of looking down at the accident, it was like somebody pushed go again, and everything sped up back to normal speed. Wow. And wham, that car T-bones me, which means, he hit me right into the driver's side.
But now you're looking from above, though, right? You're not in your
I'm watching.
I'm
with my box of popcorn, having a good time watching this thing. And I'm T-boned, and the car kind of folds in half around the front of his car. Wow. And I was like, God, look at that. And I remember looking at my body, and I looked like a little puppet. I was still in the seat belt, but the way he had hit, my seat folded in half underneath me, which was really odd. Mm-hmm. And I had on my lovely bright red Bermuda shorts. Mm-hmm. My head had gone through the driver's side window and back in again. Not a scratch. It was very strange. It was like I popped the glass, but it shattered back in. Mm-hmm. But it didn't cut my head. But it did go into my legs, and my legs, of course, were bare because I had the shorts on. And I remember looking at that going, wow. It was what I can only describe as a detached interest. I had no association in a feeling of, oh my God, that's my body. No. It wasn't like that at all. It was just like, oh, this is very interesting to watch. I knew it was me, and I knew it was the body that it had taken, that had taken me at that stage 21 years through life. But I had no interest really. And I wasn't trying to
So you
clamber my
had
way back
no
in. It was
interest.
so natural.
Did you feel that like that was somebody else or?
No, I knew it was me. It was like,
Hmm.
here's how I like to describe it. You know, if you're a gardener, let's say you like playing out in the garden, you like digging your plants and, you know, just getting your hands dirty out in the garden, down on the hands and knees, and you're filthy after a day's work. You know, and your hands are dirty and your clothes are destroyed, and you come in the
Yeah.
back door and you peel those clothes off and drop them by the washing machine. And then you go upstairs and you have this fabulous hot shower and you're wiping away all the dirt and you feel very satisfied because you've just planted your garden and it was so much fun. I no more thought about that body than I would in my nice hot shower think about the clothes that I left down by the washing machine. That's the best way I could
because
describe
it's not
it.
because
You're
clothes are
aware,
not you.
grateful.
The clothes are not you.
The clothes aren't me,
Mm.
and nor is the body. And oh man, you know, when I'm having a fat day, I always try to remind myself of that. Do you know that you cop yourself on and remember that you know better than this. Don't even get caught up in that mess. And you know, so this sense of looking at the body and going, well, that's great. You know, I'm delighted at it. I didn't even have this overwhelming sense of gratitude at that stage. It was just there it is. There's that body. What was very interesting, though, was I was suddenly very plugged into the senses of what was going on at the scene of the accident. How peculiar is this? A girl that I had gone to college with for 4 years, she'd been my suite mate through college. She was 3 cars behind me. She watched the whole thing happen and didn't realize until she got out of her car, of course, because I'd stopped traffic at this stage. And, you know, the car's in the middle of the intersection and there's people coming around because everybody thought I was dead. And I was.
So she's watching this. She's watching this from a few cars back, and
exactly. And then all of a sudden realizes it's me.
Oh my God! Well, I tell you what, I'm gonna get you to stop right there on the cliffhanger because we're going to break, and it's a great place to stop because y'all have to listen in and come back to hear the rest. All right, we'll be right back.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
The name is Bond, James Bond.
No, the name is Joe, The Joe Show. And we are returning back for our 9th season here on OMTimes Radio. So tune in every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, on OMTimes.com/mobile. You can take us wherever you go. Yeah!
Do you want to be a better communicator? Do you want to better connect with the important people in your life? Do you want to enrich your relationships? If so, join me, Matthew Cooper, on the Positive Control System Show every Wednesday evening at 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time on OMTimes Radio. I'll meet you there.
Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
And we're back. You're listening to Between Heaven and Earth, Conscious Living for Your Soul. And I am here with Dr. Mary Helen Hensley, and we're talking about her near-death experience, which is absolutely fascinating. And Mary Helen, we were at the point where you were, okay, so let's run it back a little bit for those who just joined us. Dr. Mary Helen Hensley was in her car going to a Christmas party, and then she was T-boned by another car that was going over 75 miles an hour. And apparently just a couple cars behind you, was your friend?
Yeah, it was a girl I'd gone through all 4 years of college with.
Wow. And so
she
now
happened to live in Charleston too.
did she see the accident?
She did, but she didn't realize it was me until
Oh.
all of the traffic had stopped and she got out of her car. And what was so interesting, at this stage now, I have moved out of the physical body and I'm hovering over the scene of the accident. And I've just watched my own accident take place. When things sped up as I made the decision to exit the body, which was, a choice that was completely left in my hands. I was still going to die anyway, but it was either die and experience the impact if I needed that. And I took plan B because I didn't feel at that moment that I needed to feel the pain that would be associated with that. So I took off right before the car hit my car. So I'm now looking down and I can see her. But what was so interesting and I was just so in tune with was I could feel her fear. Now, I wasn't attached to it in any way, and I wasn't feeling sad or sorry or anything like that. I was just aware of the feeling. And I'll never forget that. But now I'm watching people starting to congregate, as you do, you're rubbernecking. And now that there's no traffic going anywhere, all the cars are stopped and people are getting out and they're looking and checking to see if the person was dead. And there was a woman who ran up and put her phone number on the front seat of the passenger side of the car because the windows had blown out. And I always thought this was so weird. And I remember watching that. I'm like, what is she doing? And I could feel her fear. She was very scared. And I never knew if she actually was too afraid to get involved in the moment and wanted to leave her number because she witnessed it or if she had somewhere she had to be. But anyway, she left that number on the front seat of the car. And the next thing I remember was a man in uniform reaching in again through that passenger side and realizing that I was pinned because the door had crushed onto the left side of my body. And he reached over and he turned the engine of the car off. And I remember seeing that. And that's really kind of the last thing I remember. The next thing was that drone that we talked about, that lovely kind of steady bagpipe drone.
I want to stop you right there. Let me stop.
Yeah?
So so the car was hit now, and you were obviously in the car, and you got hit. Now, was your body, quote, unconscious? Do you know that?
Yeah. Well, here's what's really interesting. My I am the being that I am had already lifted out of the body.
Right. So the body.
Hit.
From other people's vantage point is basically unconscious, right? So there's no way that unconscious body would know about the hand coming in to turn off the car and leaving the little note on the, okay. Mm-hmm.
No. And at this stage, though, all of a sudden that drone, that low vibration began to speed up. And it was getting higher pitched. It was a sweet sound, a really high pitched, but the frequency was speeding up and you could feel that. And this is where everybody asks about the tunnel of light. Did you see it? And I'm like, yeah, you know what? If I was in the tunnel of light, it was so fast because it was like one moment I was there and then the next moment I was somewhere else. It was very, very fast for me. So I didn't have that kind of Wizard of Oz feeling like I'm flying through the tornado and, there's the light, walk into the light. I did not have the Carol Ann experience. I was just there 1 minute and the next thing I was somewhere else. And where I landed, Lisa, this is where it gets emotionally incredible. Still, I have told the story 1,000 times and I just get to this point and I just become nearly overwhelmed by the magnitude
that's not unusual.
Of the love.
That apparently other people that I've interviewed who have had near-death experiences say exactly the same thing.
Yeah, it's just you land in this space and it's like there's nothing to it initially, but you're part of it and it's so right and it's so home and it's so familiar and and there was this euphoric sensation of, oh my God, I still know who I am. That really stuck out for me because it was not, I think even though I'd had all of these strange paranormal experiences growing up, in the back of my human mind, there was always this, well, what happened? What if I cease to exist? You know, that's
Yeah.
something I might have laid in bed when I was 12 years old and contemplated. Oh my gosh, what if when I die, I cease to exist? And in that moment, it was just like, okay, crazy lady, that's not what happens at all. You know exactly who you are, and here you are. And then I was so aware of having been other people. Now, this is where it gets very interesting for me, because with my religious background and how I had been taught, I don't even know, to be quite honest, at that age in my life, did I even know what the term reincarnation meant?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can't recall it ever being a part of my consciousness. You know, I would have been raised in a household that was, you know, the Southern Baptist credo. And, you know, look, some people get to go to heaven and some people don't. And we all strive to be good people. And we wish that everybody got to go. But, you know, you believe a certain thing. And if you do, you get to go. That never sat right with me ever. From the time I was very small, I was a nightmare in church.
So now all of a
Nightmare,
sudden you're
especially
in
when your dad's the
now
preacher.
you are in heaven. You were in heaven.
Now I'm
Is
in
that-
this space going, holy cow, this is incredible. And so what I can remember about the space is the atmosphere breathed. The air was palpable. It's like you could touch the air, but the colors, there were colors going on that we just simply don't have the rods and cones in these human eyeballs to see. I can't even describe this pearly sheen on everything, this magenta magnificence. It was just amazing. And it was like I could touch everything around me. So I'm kind of sitting in wonder and all of this and just basking in the glory of being home and this feeling of being home. And there was no loneliness. There was no pining away for the body or the life that I just left. Like, it was like not even in my consciousness anymore at that stage. I'm just lapping up the beauty of being home again.
So now, did you meet
All of a sudden
anybody
in front
there?
of me, yeah, exactly. The atmosphere began to take shape. And I noticed taking shape in front of me were two beings. And the more I looked at them, the more human in appearance they became. And I know that was strictly for my benefit, because in that space, I'm in my light body there. I don't look human. I look energetic. I'm in my light body and they're in their light bodies, but they're light bodies because my consciousness is still so attached to having just been human. I've just completed an incarnation. And so they appeared to me in a form that would be most familiar.
Right, that you can
And
recognize.
one that was easy for me to yes, exactly. Easy for me to recognize. And it would make the transition more comfortable. And so I see them and I'm looking at them going, God, I know you. I don't know about you, but I've got a small bit of the whole menopause brain going on. And so I have this thing that occurs to me very regularly now, where I could walk into the shopping center and see a patient that I've seen for 20 years. I've known them. I've known their children. I know them intimately. And I'll get into the shopping center, and because they're not standing in my office and they're out of
you
context,
don't know who they
I
are.
can't
It's
call
like
them by name.
I
You have that?
know
Yeah.
you. I know you,
I'm
but
totally
I
rocking that thing.
can't. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the similar experience. I'm looking at these guys going, oh, I totally know you, but who are you? And they waited very patiently, and just beamed. And all of a sudden it was like the penny dropped. And I went, oh my God, these are my guardians. Oh my God, I've got guardians.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God, it's true. My spiritual watchdogs, and they're there. And it was like the best homecoming ever. They just enveloped me, and it was like their energy became my energy. There were no need for words.
Wow.
It was like transference of information was happening telepathically, energetically, whatever you want to call it. But it was just incredible.
So did they
And
have
in that moment,
I'm sorry,
yeah.
because I there's so much I want to get to. So I'm just trying to see. So for you, were you able to figure out like what your life was about and why you had this incarnation?
I was, because I got to do a life review.
Uh-huh.
So this was so interesting. Next thing, my atmosphere that's breathing and beautiful and palpable and all, it's like it was a 360-degree cinema screen. So it's like I'm standing in the middle of a 360 arena, and I begin watching my life. And I mean, every second of it. It was incredible, because now you're watching it. It was like it's like being in a 9D cinema, with all the sensory stimulations intact. and I'm feeling everything that's happened to me. And I'm going, oh my gosh, I remember when that happened. And I'm watching how one tiny little nice thing that I did had made such a massive impact on somebody. And in turn, watching how doing something that wasn't quite so nice also had such a massive impact.
Give me an example of what the small nice thing was that you did.
Something, all right, like something I enjoy doing is I have to drive to Dublin each week. And it's a toll road, and it's $2, €2.90, the toll.
Yeah.
And I'm not a coffee drinker, so I would spend that on a cup of coffee if I was. So I keep a little change bucket in my car, and every week I drive through, I pay for the car behind me.
Oh.
And it's this, looking at the faces when the jaw drops, and they're like, why would you do that? They drive by me, and some of them wave, some of them beep, some of them fly past me and don't look at me because they think, what does she want? And I just get such a kick out of this. And an example of this, just a couple of weeks ago, to be honest, and I've been doing this for years, I got a Facebook message from a lady who, I have a logo on the back of my car that says, if you've been waiting for a sign from the universe, this is it. And then it has my website. And she contacted me through the website and said, I just want you to know, I had been on the side of the road, had a flat tire, had to wait for AA for 2 hours. I just had a crap day, and then you paid my toll. And I just wanted to let you know that just made such a difference to me. And it was little things like that. It cost me $2.90. Do you know?
Wow. And
little things like that made a huge impact.
When you were doing your life review, did you see more than just just having a message back? Did you see how far perhaps those
Absolutely.
acts of kindness? Was there one that stuck out in your mind? Maybe not.
There were a lot. There were a lot of things. One thing for me was I was particularly fond of elderly people when I was a child. Other kids would be off playing with their friends and all this, and I had this thing about visiting. I used to visit nursing homes when I was a kid, and I just loved elderly people.
Oh my gosh!
So for me,
we're
to be
actually
able
going to come up to
time,
break in about 5 seconds, so I don't think we're going to get. We'll
okay.
have to come back to that story when we come back, and then I want to get into how you met one of your soul family. Remember your soul family back on Earth. That's an amazing story. We'll be right back. You're listening to Between Heaven and Earth.
You're listening to OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
As difficult as it is to believe, there are places in Africa where human traffickers sell albino children and their body parts for use in magic rituals. Humanity Healing International is actively working in Uganda to change this paradigm. The Albino Rescue Project finds albino children who are at risk and places them in safe schools and environments where they can learn and grow free from fear. To learn more or to sponsor a child, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Hello, I'm Miriam Knight of New Consciousness Review, inviting you to my new show where I interview the rising stars of the conscious awakening. We'll explore the many faces of consciousness and action and intriguing perspectives on life, the universe, and everything in between. Join us each Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern on the Rising Stars Show.
Hi, this is Sylvia Henderson, intuitive life coach and energy healer. Are you ready to elevate and rise way above your normal? Be sure to listen to my show, Intuitive Transformations, on OMTimes Radio, Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern. Get the inspiration you need to transform your life.
Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
You're listening to OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
host, and we're talking to Mary Helen Hensley, a doctor and a chiropractor, and she's talking to us about her near-death experience. And I wanted to go over in our half-hour mark here. We usually do announcements. We don't have a whole lot today. We're getting close to Christmas, which I love, and so that's, for me at least, it's a time to relax and be with family and get ready for the holidays. But I wanted to share with our listeners Mary Helen's book. It's called Promised by Heaven, A Doctor's Return from the Afterlife to a Destiny of Love and Healing. And I assume, Mary Helen, where can you get the book? Where can people get your book?
It's in all the good bookstores, Barnes & Noble. It's on Amazon.com. It's SimonandSchuster.com are my publishers. So it's pretty easy to get your hands on these days. And anybody who'd like to contact me, I'm on Facebook and, Dr. Mary Helen Hensley, author.
That's easy. My
website is maryhelenhensley.com.
Yes. That's easy. And Hensley is spelled Hensley. So maryhelenhensley.com. Fascinating. Really cool stuff. And I'm Lisa Kay, and you can reach me at lmk88.com. And our show, Between Heaven and Earth, is all about bringing you everyday spirituality. We try to bring you guests and topics that can help you improve your life with what I call everyday spirituality, or just things that are going to help you improve your day, improve your life, and just basically live a happier life. And that's what we're all about. So, and I'm also a teacher, author, speaker on intuition. So if you're interested in developing yours, you can go to lmk88.com and find out more about my courses and teaching there. So, Mary Helen, we've got so much to talk about. I have so many questions for you. I wanted to get to some hunky ones here. And I know we were giving a little example about how you can touch people by doing little small acts of kindness and the ripple effects. But I wanted to, let's see.
Can I just say one thing to you?
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
Would finish up?
Mm-hmm.
One question that a lot of people have is during that life review process, I think the thing that is most striking about this was that, of course, growing up with the religious background that I did, being a Southern Baptist, we weren't holy rollers or anything, but we were, we believed the basic tenets of the Bible. And, I remember through this review process, I'm looking around going, well, where's the judge,
Wow.
And all that was there during the process were my guides and me. And I'm watching this, and suddenly I realized I'm the one who's critiquing this. It's me. I'm having to be accountable to myself. There was nobody judging me. I was watching my own performance and critiquing it with the same interest as an actress critiquing a DVD of her latest movie. There was no self-judgment. It was watching myself with complete compassion and love and honor for the courage to have the experience to have gone through the life process.
Well, that brings us.
That was a big deal.
That is huge, and that brings me to I think an important question, which is why do we do? I mean, it takes courage, you would think, to come and leave home, leave a perspective of, I guess, greater perspective, being in being in heaven. I think you have a broader perspective, obviously, but now you're coming back into a body, and you're veiled, so to speak. So you've forgotten where you're from. You've forgotten that you've got guides to help you. You've even forgotten why you came. Why do we do this? Why are we reincarnated? Did you get an answer to that?
Because what better way to know thyself? You come from this space of perfection, and the funniest part of the experience now, having now that I'm switched on to this information and I continue to walk with one foot in both worlds, because my memory is so vast of what happened. I didn't come back with kind of like, oh, it was just all love and light and it was wonderful. I have like full on memories of the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I have my bar was raised big time as far as the expectations I have of myself and how I need to handle situations here, how I need to, treat every action, with complete and, utter unconditional compassion. And, but when you think about it, the idea of being able to come here from a state of utter perfection, we're omnipotent,
yes.
We're divine, We're loving, we're eternal. And we come into a space where we're literally sitting in a bag of 70 trillion cells, limited to 5 senses. And we've got to find our way back home again. And it's like the ultimate board game. Do you know?
Yeah, it is.
You have this opportunity to put yourself in a position of growth and experience. And the fun part about the reincarnation process is that if you're coming in, let's say, to experience the emotion or the feeling of compassion, you're not just going to come in and be compassionate. You're going to come in and you're going to be, let's say, the homeless guy. You're going to come in and be the guy who's mean to the homeless guy. You're going to be the guy who comes in and builds the shelter for the homeless guy, or the kid who puts a quarter in his cup, or the one who says, get up and get a job. Or, you're going to take it from every possible angle so that you have a complete understanding. It's the same concept as when you go off to college.
Yeah.
If you're going to study art, you don't study the
everything.
Same art class the whole way through. You study every aspect of art you can. So lifetimes work the same way. We'll do what I call a thread.
So
thread
I have a
of
question
lifetimes
for you,
on a particular piece of subject matter.
That makes perfect sense to me. But I've always had this question. Now I might be wrong, but when you go back to heaven, or you have this omniscience and this understanding of and connection to all things, I think that from what I understand, you could tap into the experiences and understanding of other beings. And so why not do it that, I guess, could you do it that way? If I wanted to, as a soul, well, I don't want to experience
you can, of course.
poverty myself. I can just kind of tap into someone who did experience it. So it's a choice.
Yeah, and it is a choice. And here's what's interesting is a lot of the kids that are incarnating now, we've moved through different titles. We've had indigo kids and crystal children and rainbow children and, different types of beings that are tending to incarnate here. And you'll find that an awful lot of the kids that are coming in now are choosing parents that have had a multitude of horrendous experiences. And they're coming in and they're sponging off the information of the experience from the parent without having to go through it. So you take my 2 kids, let's say, one of my experiences was I was raped when I was 17. And, I've said to you before, I could talk about being raped like I could talk about the cup of coffee sitting in front of me or the, cup of tea. Mm-hmm. I don't have any emotional attachment to it because I was able to understand that this was just as much an experience that I needed for my own growth and development as something fantastic that could happen to me. Mm-hmm. And both of my daughters would come in on a soul level knowing that I had that experience. So they come in and they're getting the privilege of having the knowledge of the experience that I went through and the choices that I made pertaining to it without having to have it happen to them. So I'm seeing an awful lot of that with the kids that I'm working with these days who are coming into parents who've got quite traumatic
yes. So it's a very
histories.
Brave soul that would come in to actually be the one to have the firsthand experience.
Well, it's a soul that's coming in who knows exactly what they want, because remember, in that space, you're not afraid of anything. And so, we sit here and we're kind of cowering right now with the state of what's happening with the world. And it's very scary times. It's always been scary times.
It's always
been wonderful times as well.
Yes,
absolutely. And so the thing is to remember that you made a choice to come here. You didn't have to. You weren't forced here. You didn't just begin when the sperm and the egg came together. You were long before that. And you made the choice to come here because there was something that you could contribute to the growth and evolution of this planet, yet at the same time there was something that you could take. It's a very synergistic exchange.
So how should we live our lives? So, that was the question I had when I was 8 years old. If I understood what God wanted me to do and to be, then I could live the best life I could. And, that's the best thing. So you've had a better understanding of what it's all about, having been to heaven. So what's the message for the rest of us who haven't been there? How are we supposed to live our lives?
Well, it's interesting because this is where the cynics will go, well, what's the point then in being good? If everybody gets to go, because that's the message that I tell. Again, very different than what I learned in Sunday school. The place that I landed is non-exclusive. Imagine that. Every soul gets to go. And all of us came from that divine, loving, eternal space. We came from perfection. And the great big cosmic ha-ha is that we spend half our time here trying to be perfect, when the whole idea was that we signed up to come in and get down and dirty and experience everything. Everything that we could get our hands on.
So
and
nothing
that's
is
from,
bad. Nothing is really, quote,
Yeah.
bad, or nothing's wrong.
No, it's not. It's all about your perception. Do you know? How could, I do healing sessions, and let's say I could work on a woman who's the same age as me, 46 years old, and she was raped at 17, the same as I was, and her entire life has been dominated by that. Everything that's ever happened to her has led back to that moment. She has refused to show up because she became a victim in that moment and remained one. Now, everyone is going to learn and grow according to the skill set and the tools that they've accumulated over a series of lifetimes. So it's not like my way is better than her way. It's just my way. My way is different. A pure reflection of the work that I've done thus far.
So what do
her way is a pure.
So then where is our participation in this life? Is it really we've chose to come here to experience certain things. So there is no good, there's no bad. It just is whatever it is. It's an experience, but we still have our free will, and so what choices should we be making?
Well, as my mother always says, now, Mary Helen, whenever you go somewhere, you leave it, even if it's a hotel, like I'm that weirdo who makes beds in a hotel, always leave it a little bit better than when you found it. And that really rings in my ears. And that message is very much so a part of the experience that I had.
I'm going to write that in the Facebook. We've got a Facebook page, facebook.com, Between Heaven and Earth. Always leave. Give me a good quote. Always leave where you are just a little bit better than how you found it. Better than.
And so
I love that.
I make a conscious effort everywhere I go. My kids think I'm nuts, but that's great. They'll appreciate it one day.
That's a good social media post. We're going to Facebook that, Twitter it. Always leave where you are just a little better than how you found it. We're actually going to go to another break. I think we're going to have to do a double header next time and bring you back.
Woohoo!
Woo! All right. I love it. All right. We're going to break. Please stay with us, and we'll be right back with Mary Helen Hensley.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
Matt Connerton here. Join Jen Coffey and I twice a week for Matt Connerton Unleashed, a political talk show that's a little different than what you're used to. No liberal or conservative agenda here, just an honest dialogue about truth and how things really work in the world of politics. Matt Connerton Unleashed, every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
Join Elliot Jollish, the business therapist, each Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern for the Elliot Jollish Hour, as he interviews business experts on your behalf. And you're invited to email your business questions to questions@ecjgroup.com for answers, live, on air every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on the Elliot Jollish Hour. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
For the show with our guest today, Dr. Mary Helen Hensley, and we're talking about her amazing experience of going to heaven and back. She had a near-death experience, and it was transformative. But she brought back with her knowledge and information, which is helpful to all of us. And I just love it. It's but we don't have enough time for everything. So, Mary Helen, this is so exciting. I wanted to talk about a section in your book that, and I have to admit to everybody, I have not read the whole book, but the angels had me open to a particular page just before the show, and I was riveted. I couldn't put it down. In fact, I was a little late in getting Mary Helen on the show in our just before we started, because I was like just reading, eating this up. And it's a little anecdotal story about Mary Helen's meeting someone, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, back after you had your near-death experience, you come back and you kind of living life, and you run into one of your soul family, which are those in heaven who are just the ones who go through life after life after life with us. And
this was an amazing time in my life. It was absolutely
my first question
incredible.
is, I haven't read the whole book, so was this the one and only time? Have you met others?
Oh no, I've met.
Oh, okay. So many. Oh, this is so exciting.
But this was the first significant.
So I want to tell us briefly what happened, and and then how do you now after that? How do you know who's in your soul family? But tell us the story first.
So imagine this. I've just started chiropractic school at this stage, because my mentor all of my life was my grandfather, and my grandfather was a surgeon, and he always coached me on all things spiritual, and that I was going to have a very different life than the vast majority of the people I knew, and we just had very interesting grown-up conversations when I was quite young, and the kicker was that he was dead. And after this accident, my grandfather tells me that I'm going to chiropractic school. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm one of these who had just finished 4 years of college, and I never going back. And suddenly now I'm finding myself having to go back and get a doctorate in chiropractic. And it was because he wanted me to be able to know the human body inside and out. I would be using the gifts that I had in order to assist people. But first, I needed to know how the body worked. And so I had gone to chiropractic school, and it was a small campus, but I didn't know everybody on campus. And I was at this seminar, and there was a guy there that I had recognized from campus, but I'd never spoken to before. Now, he would have been ready to graduate. I would have been only starting. And we were in this hotel in North Carolina. Now, at this stage, my marriage was beginning to fall apart because, look, face it, it's not that easy waking up next to me. Like I might be at the hospital in the middle of the night because some voice called me, like, what do you tell the counselor? Yeah.
Right.
Well, she's not really cheating on me really with anybody with a body. She goes away a lot in the middle of the night, so this kind of thing was going on. And because of the stress and strain of that, I was really questioning what was happening to me. I felt so alone. I was so isolated from my partner, and he did the best. Look, with what he had and what he had to deal with, quite honestly, he did a great job. But at that time, I really felt alone. I felt like I was walking through this. I had yet to meet anyone who had ever experienced anything remotely like what I'd been through. And the only people I had to talk to about it were my mother and father, because they'd sworn me to secrecy because they didn't want my siblings to know about this. It had been that way since I was a child. Their choice. I don't know why, but I'd always adhered to that. So I'm at this seminar in North Carolina. Everything's kind of falling around me. And I'm going, is this even real? Is this even happening to me? I know the accident happened, and, I'm getting all these strange things that are going on. And now I've got this weird energy coming through my hands, and it's seemingly, able to help somebody in their healing process. And I'm freaking out kind of. So I'm sitting in the workshop. Everybody kind of convened to the bar afterwards, and we were all sitting around a table, and this fellow happens to be sitting at the same table, and he leans across to me and he goes, I need to talk to you later. And I'm looking, I'm like, who, me? And he's like, yeah, I need to talk to you. And I'm going, this is like the lamest pickup line ever. And plus, I'm married at this time, but there was just something different. And people started to leave, and he was like, listen, come up to my room, talk to me. I'm like, right. But I did. And I knew something was different. And so we went to the room, and there was like a living room area in his room. And we sat down, and I'm looking at him, and he's just laughing. And think. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm thinking I'm a lunatic sitting here in your hotel room in the middle of the night, and you're telling me to think. And he's like, no, really, just think. And all of a sudden, it was that same sensation that I got when I met those guides when I'd crossed over. And I was like, oh my gosh, I know I'm supposed to know you. Well, he put his hand up, and he held his hand up, and I touched his hand.
Uh-oh. Mary Helen, I don't know if you can hear me, but you've been cutting out a little bit. And this is like the good part of the story. So, oh, we lost Mary Helen. We're going to get her back, Joe. Just hang on. Everybody hang on there. Let's see if we can get her in. So we are live, obviously, and I'm trying to get Mary Helen back on the line here, and see if we can add her back in. We're just gonna try to call her. Skype is a little difficult, I guess, a long distance, and
Woo, the Skype must have gotten so excited.
yeah. Oh,
there.
you're back. I think so. It's a lot of the energy. So we cut you. You got cut off at the best part. So he held up his hand, and you put your hand up against his hand, and
it blows me across the room nearly. And it was like my circuits had been tripped. I'm looking at it. I'm like, oh my gosh. And it was like he was glowing from the inside out. And I'm like, oh my God, I know you. And he's freaking out. He's like, what happened? Tell me about your family. You got 2 brothers and a sister, right? Where did you land? Tell me what it was like. And he's going on. He's like hyper.
wow.
And I'm like, holy cow.
So he wants to know the whole
from my
thing.
soul group.
So this is someone
he's like,
from your
tell
soul
me all
group.
about growing up and what was it. And then we were hugging each other. But it was so cute because he was waiting for me to
Listen,
recognize
how does he
him.
know that, though? I mean, he's a human, right? So he came into this.
He's a human,
world.
but he's a human kind of like me, a little bit weird, a little odd.
Well, did he have a near-death experience? How did he know? How did he know?
It was one of those things where he just knew. He had that. Sometimes you'll find that there are people who are walking the earth who know why they're here. And I've had the good fortune of running into a lot of them.
And so he had a way.
He was one of them.
And he had a way of knowing that, oh, she is one of my soul family. But then but it's almost like a movie, because he knew that if he put his hand up and touch yours, that you would remember.
That was it.
Now, how does he know that?
Well, because he knew. It was like, I think he had this awareness, because the next thing he says to me was just, I mean, it was incredible. Mm-hmm. He, basically looks at me and he's like, look, I know you've been having a really hard time, and I know the stuff that is happening to you is so incredible that even you're doubting if it's true or not. And he's like, listen, they sent me, and I'm going, they, my God, oh my God, my gods. They sent me to let you know this is real. Don't give up, please. Keep the faith on this. And, and I believed him, because he was talking about things that no one else knew about.
Really?
And he knew. He knew that these things were happening to me. I'd never met him before in my life in person, but
he
like
had
just emanating
specific
this glow
things,
and this love.
Specific things about you and your life. This is a complete stranger who was talking to you as if he knew you, obviously from before, and knew your who you were intimately. I mean, that's like so mind blowing.
It is mind-blowing. Well, basically what he was doing to me is what I do to people all the time now. It's one of my little tactics that if I have to catch somebody's attention, because, as you can imagine, I'll get a lot of people, even if they're quite ill or whatever, who will come to me as a last resort. Mm-hmm. The skeptic who's, in stage 4 cancer and, I may as well give it a try. I'm going to die anyway kind of thing. And I'll pull something out of thin air that blows them out of the water, and they know there's no way I could know.
Well,
he did the same.
Yeah, because he was one of your soul family. Now, when you meet, now you said you've met others since then, and so for those of us who haven't had that experience, who haven't had an NDE, and we wanted to know, could we know who our soul family members are who are walking the earth?
Well, number one, you can be pretty sure that the people who you're having close relationships with, and particularly the ones that aren't pleasant, that's somebody from your soul group.
Oh, is that
because
right?
what happens is, we're all loving beings. And we come in here and we play roles for one another. Think of it like somebody putting a costume on to come in and play a role in a movie. The guy who's playing a gangster in a movie isn't really a gangster. He's just playing a role for that movie. And the very same thing is happening in our lives that way. And if you could look at people like that with that kind of love and compassion and go, okay, you're actually doing this for my benefit. You're
Wow.
not doing this to really hurt who I am, because the
Right.
reality of this, Lisa, is nobody can hurt us.
No.
That's a perception. We think that they can, but no one can actually hurt who we really are. And the only way we can have an experience here is if, in fact, it is for our higher good.
Right.
So the things that we judge as bad aren't really
Exactly.
bad at all. They're happening because we've requested them. We just forgot that we did, because, that makes the game worth playing.
Well, you know what? That's
And-
it. I think we've got 10 seconds left in the show. We're at the end, but that is the message, I think, of
let yourselves off the hook, people. It's all good.
It's
Get
all
out there
good.
and use yourselves up. Every last drop you can. Don't go away beautiful and unfulfilled and with your music still left inside of you. Get out there and use it up. Take the risk.
There you go. Thank you so much, Dr. Mary Helen Hensley, our guest
Thank
today.
you so much.
It's been wonderful. You guys have been listening to Between Heaven and Earth, and we had a blast. Come back next week and have a great week. Angel blessings to everyone. Bye.